And now it's time for Live on Live. And Paris, of course, is known all over the world for its rich cultural scene. And there's soon to be a new addition to the summer season. Last night was the opening night of Paris Fringe, which is a festival of fringe theatre, which will run until the 29th of May here in Paris, where everything will be in English. It's the first year, and the organisers hope it's going to be an annual fixture. And it's an opportunity, if you're visiting Paris, to catch shows and comedy acts and theatre workshops, improvisation sessions. It's quite an eclectic programme. And the festival was the brainchild of Recca Pologni and Dominic Douglas. And I'm joined now by one of that team, Dominic Douglas. Welcome. Tell us then, although you're British, you've been working in France for a few years. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between the two theatre cultures in both countries?
Well, I'd say the British theatre culture is mainly based on the playwrights, and because it always stems from the writer, there's a real emphasis on the plot and on how the plot develops, and on character-driven shows. Equally, when we go to theatre in the UK, we're really looking to see a reflection of our lives on stage. We want to see something that's real and understandable to us. Whereas in France, it can often be a little bit more playful, a little bit more intuitive. And equally, there's a real... here in France, they see theatre very much as an art form, as equivalent to a painting or to going to a museum. It's a bit like when you go to the theatre here, it is like you're going to a museum and you're watching a piece of art, whereas there isn't quite the same focus, quite the same valuation of theatre in the UK.
That's interesting. And what is their fringe scene like? They have this café théâtre. How does that compare?
Yeah, that's quite similar. The café théâtre is... It's a little bit fringy. It's a kind of bit more sort of street performances and very, very small performances which take place in restaurants, maybe on a kind of slightly, but very, very much about just cabaret and songs and without really much of a structure. This most similar thing they have to a fringe scene is the Avignon Festival, which takes place every year in July in the south of France.
Which we cover here on RFI.
That's it. And so that's quite similar to the Fringe, but there, even over in the Avignon, there is a very much focus on theatre, whereas the Paris Fringe, or a Fringe in general, has a much wider remit. There is theatre, comedy, music, dance, street performance. There's absolutely everything in a Fringe. And so that's the kind of the difference we're trying to draw between Avignon and a Fringe.
Okay, so give us a flavour of what's on offer during this festival.
Well, there's absolutely everything. Like I was saying, the Fringe really has to offer everything, and so that's what we really try to do. There are shows obviously from the UK, but also local shows, French companies. There's a Zimbabwe-based writer who is part of a British company who's bringing a play here, which is all about an immigrant coming from Zimbabwe and trying to claim asylum in the UK. But equally, there's shows from the US, from Canada, from Israel, from Belgium. There really is an absolute mix, because now that the Fringe concept is global, there are Fringe festivals all over the world. There are lots of companies who kind of make their way across the world. And now Paris is like a new stop on a tour, so to speak.
Right, and you've got choirs, you've got open mic sessions.
We have open mic sessions, we have comedy, we have theatre, we have straight stand-up, we have one-man shows which are funny, or we have a clown. I mean, really, there's kind of something for everyone. There's family shows. There really is the whole remit. There isn't music to speak, as in there aren't like musicals where there is music involved and there's live singing and live performance, but there aren't any kind of straight gigs by musicians.
Okay. And you have some theatre workshops at the end, I think, don't you?
We do have theatre workshops running all the way through, because what we're really trying to do is create a platform for artists and for public to kind of come together using English as the kind of common language to kind of bring that together, because so many people speak English, there's so many expatriates in Paris. The idea is to kind of bring people together, and part of that is offer workshops so that the artists who are coming from abroad can mix with the local artists, and we can learn from each other, and everyone can kind of get involved, as well as not just sitting and participating, but sitting and watching it, but you can also participate as well.
Yeah. Now, you're hoping, of course, that this will become, as you said, one of the stops on the Fringe series around Europe, indeed around the world.
Yeah.
How difficult was it to get off the ground, this first festival?
Well, Yeah, it's obviously pretty challenging. It was difficult to begin with, especially to convince theatres of the whole concept, because no one knows what Fringe is here. If we say that it's a bit like Avignon, then people do kind of get the idea, but they don't know what Fringe means. So you have to first of all, you got to get the concept across, and then you got to obviously convince theatres and to people to back you and to support you. And having there's a big theatre here who kind of got involved called Le Feu de la Rampe, and they once they come on board, because they've got such a big theatre with 4 different spaces, it gave us a real platform to build from, basically, and that meant we could base it in a certain part of Paris and we could build out from there. But like we say, it is the first one, so it is just about trying to get it on the map, and then in the next sort of like 2 or 3 years we hope to kind of build the concept and build the audience and really create the Fringe atmosphere in Paris.
And what about funding? Did you get any subsidies? Where's the money coming from?
Mainly from my pocket, is the short answer. I mean, obviously, to make it more sustainable, we will try it. We will obviously look for funding and look for sponsorship to be able to grow the festival. But to begin with, it really is just a group of kind of professionals, enthusiasts who are coming together to try and make it happen, essentially. And so we're a team of volunteers who are doing this just because we love theatre and we love the concept, and we're just going to make it happen, essentially, and that's what we're doing.
Now, you had your first night last night. How did that go? What kind of attendance did you have?
Well, that was the opening ceremony. So we had a couple of hundred people sort of watching various different acts and watching trailers, and it was hosted by Eric Bouvron, who's a South African artist who's based in Paris, who also won a Molière last night for his show.
Molière, of course, the stage theatre awards here in France.
Yeah, and so we presented that to the press and to interested parties. And tonight is the first night of actual performances. There are 4 shows going on today, and throughout the week there are shows in the evening and the weekend. They're running all day.
And have you sold tickets? Are there still tickets available?
Yeah, we've shifted quite a few tickets. Obviously, we can shift a few more. So if anyone is passing through Paris or wants to come down, that would be fantastic to see more people and to get as many different nationalities and cultures involved in the whole process.
Yeah. Do you know who is coming? Is it mostly tourists? Is it French people who want to look at some English language theatre?
Well, we hope to try and get a bit of both in, really. Like, obviously there are lots and lots of tourists who do come to Paris, and there's, like I said, a huge expatriate community here that we want to tap into as well. But equally, we want to convince local French audiences to come as well, because I mean, there are plenty of people, especially who are a bit younger, who do speak pretty good English, and so they can definitely access the work that we're putting on. So we are hoping to get a real mixture of people coming. As to who will be there this week, as it's the first edition, I'm hoping to meet lots of them and find out.
I saw somewhere you'd written down your do's and don'ts, if for anyone else who might like to try and set up a theatre festival. What are the do's and what are the don'ts?
Do is definitely to get people to help you, because even though there's myself and Rika, who are the leaders of this festival, we have had huge amounts of help from people doing various different things, and equally finding a balance between people who are creative, because obviously theatre is a creative process, but also people who are maybe a bit more practical. Having that mix is absolutely vital, because to create something like a festival, you need to have people who can organise.
Mm-hmm. Just very quickly, May, funny time. You wouldn't have preferred the summer months, perhaps, when some of the bigger theatres are closed and the Parisians leave and the tourists come, and there might be a bigger market for English-speaking theatre? Yeah,
we considered lots of different dates in the year. The problem with the summer is that Avignon, which I've talked about before, takes up the whole of July, and so a lot of the theatres are closed and a lot of the theatre scene is shut down. And like you say, in August in Paris is a great time for tourists and a terrible time for Parisians because no one is here. So we decided to go for May, when hopefully we'll get some of the tourist market and some of the local market.
OK, well, thanks very much. We wish you the best of luck. It looks a really, really, really rich programme if you're around. Most of it's in the 9th arrondissement in Paris, if you want to go and check any of this stuff out. Talking to Dominic Douglas, who has set up the very first Paris Fringe Festival. That's it from us for today. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow if you can. Drop us a line if you can at our usual address. And you can also write to us at parislive@rfi.fr. That's it.